1. I am living a life of luxury as the fake daughter. In my last life, my love-obsessed brain ended up causing the real daughter's death. Now I've been reborn and I'm determined to stay away from scumbags and make it up to the real daughter. But she's been reborn too. Just when I thought she'd seek revenge, she sweetly clings to me and says, "Sis, I want to play with you. I've been reborn." But my fiancé Jack has no idea. What's wrong, Lucy? Jack is on one knee, holding an engagement ring, looking at me with all the tenderness in the world. He gazes at me like I'm some rare treasure. I stare at him dumbfounded, unable to process this shocking turn of events. It takes me a while to respond. "I'm not feeling well, Jack. Let's talk about this another day." Jack doesn't lose his composure. Instead, he tenderly pulls me into an embrace. "Are you upset about that Luna thing?" His scent overwhelms my nostrils, and my stomach churns. I unconsciously push him away. He looks at me, surprised. I take a deep breath and explain, "No, I just feel a bit off. I should head home." Jack looks at me with concern, but I turn my head away, not meeting his eyes. It's hard to imagine that the man proposing to me today will, in the near future, choke me for the pin to my bank card for another woman. On the way home, Jack reassures me, "Lucy, don't worry. I told my parents that even if you're not William's biological daughter, I'll still marry you." His words are firm, but all I remember is him saying the same thing the night before he destroyed the William family. Back then, I truly believed he'd marry me, head over heels in love. But later, with disdain on his face, he told me, "I never wanted to marry you, you fool." I still remember how mocking he looked, calling me a fool. He was just using me for my family's assets. The one he truly intends to marry is his first love, hidden away in a villa. I take a deep breath and smile. "I know, Jack. I'm sorry, it's my fault. You know me. I'm hypoglycemic and wasn't feeling well earlier." Jack chuckles. "Of course I know. I can wait, Lucy." "Oh, I can wait too. Jack, in my last life you ruined my family and me. This time, I'll make sure you know how that feels." I manage to stay calm in front of Jack, but once home, seeing my parents alive again, something inside me snaps. I burst into tears, leaving my parents puzzled and worried I've been wronged. In my past life, even after Luna came back, my parents never mistreated me. Instead, they feared I'd mined Luna's identity and let me manage the entire William estate to reassure me. But I let Jack manipulate me. Eventually, I pushed my parents to ruin. My mom strokes my back with concern. "Lucy, you haven't cried like this since you were 10. What's wrong?" My dad, believing I'm upset about Luna, resolves, "Lucy, if you're bothered by Luna, I can find her a place outside. We'll make it up to her somehow. You'll always be our daughter." Just as he says this, Luna descends the stairs with tear-filled eyes. One look and I'm certain she's not the naive girl who returned home previously. She's been reborn too. My dad's about to say something to Luna when I stand abruptly, pulling Luna into a tearful embrace. She cries as well. It's a cry only we understand. Though confused, my parents are relieved. Both their daughters and they don't want us on bad terms. I don't want to burden my parents with the truth, so I drag Luna to my room. Luna, having just returned looking frail, but her eyes still bright as they were, says, "Sis, whatever you want to do, I'll help you." In my past life, she died protecting me, pushed into oncoming traffic by Jack. She died clutching her phone, whispering for me to run. As the true William daughter, she held no grudges against me, the imposter. She used her life to protect me before. This lifetime, I'll repay her any way I can. I want Jack to face justice. I tell Luna. She nods with a fierce determination. "Your enemies are my enemies." Just then, a message from Jack pops up. "Feeling better. I got us movie tickets for tomorrow night." I smirk. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow, Jack will meet his soulmate and suddenly abandon me for her, using my trust to stab me in the back. In countless sleepless nights of my past life, I wondered how this woman managed to captivate Jack in just one encounter. Now, I have a chance to uncover that mystery myself. I reply to Jack, "Sure, I'll be there tomorrow." In my past life, I agreed but didn't show up, and that's when Jack met Lisa at the movie. This time, I'm going to watch how they meet. Since it's a hit movie, the theater's packed. My seat is right behind Jack's. He texts me, "Are you here? It's about to start." I reply, sorry, something came up. I can't make it. You go ahead and enjoy. I'll treat you next time. Jack responds, all right then, take care and don't stay up too late. 2 inches my past life. Because Luna came back. I worried my parents would abandon me. Jack was the only one who stuck by me no matter what. I was so confident in our relationship that when Jack later started being distant, I didn't think much about it. In this life, I'm curious to see what this supposed true love of his has up her sleeve. Where did I lose out? I entered the theater after the movie had already started. In the dark room, I focused intently on Jack sitting in front of me, and the girl beside him. They didn't interact much. The most that happened was the girl's hand accidentally brushed against Jack's when she was grabbing popcorn. Jack just politely pulled his hand away without speaking to her. It wasn't until Jack went to the restroom that the girl finally made some noise. She spoke hastily, and I only caught snippets like system, mission target, error, and world error. Maybe I was staring too obviously, because the girl turned and looked at me. In the dim light of the movie, I saw her face. It was Lisa from my past life, unmistakably. That recognition hit me like a punch. As memories from the past flooded back, they were too painful. Seeing her face brought back that suffocating despair of feeling like my loved one was choking the life out of me like back then. When Jack returned, nothing seemed different, but Lisa seemed to be whispering to herself, like she was communicating with someone. Even as the movie ended, Jack didn't glance at Lisa. What was going on? I couldn't wrap my head around it. I pulled Luna aside and asked, if this life's Jack makes different choices than before, would you still trust him? Luna looked at me and said, if you do, then I will too. She added, sister, you wouldn't ask this if you really trusted him. I exhaled deeply. I truly don't have the courage to trust him again. Luna sighed in relief and smiled, sister, no matter what, I'll always be here to protect you. Luna is a chemistry genius, inheriting talent from our dad. Because she shone so brightly in the chemical field at a young age, some nosy people figured out the mystery of her origins. In the previous life, Jack was wary of my family because of Luna. Even the wealthy Smith family dared not attack the William family rashly until Luna was gone. Only then did they dare to strike openly. He was scared Luna would get back at him and Lisa. Lisa always talked about destiny. She said my fate was to end up miserable, my family destroyed, as a pathetic clown. Jack's destiny was to be with her, happily ever after. I wonder if she ever thought this clown would be reborn. Then Jack texted me, the girl sitting behind me today looked a lot like you. Honestly, did you sneak into the theater to spy on me? I felt a jolt of surprise. No, you know how busy things are at work. I'll definitely join you next time. Jack replied, all right, maybe I'm just seeing things because I miss you. I didn't text back, but inwardly, I grew even more cautious. Jack comes off as gentle and friendly, but is actually quite cunning. For those he loves, he's a solid rock. For those he doesn't, he's a snake ready to strike. Lying in bed, I'm not sure how to handle this version of Jack, the one whose thoughts and heart seem to be all about me, the one I longed for in my last life. My conscience tells me I shouldn't blame this Jack for the choices past Jack made. He seems to have no attachment to Lisa, yet deep within, my resentment urges me to seek revenge on him. I sighed. No matter what, revenge or not, I won't marry Jack again. My parents really like you. Don't be nervous, Jack said as we drove to his place. He squeezed my hand. Yeah, I know. Your parents are great people. I sure knew they liked me. Last time, Jack fought tooth and nail with his parents, because he wanted to marry Lisa. And when Jack had my parents killed, his dad was so enraged, he ended up in the ER. Sure, I was anxious, but not about meeting his parents. I was stressed about how to tell them I didn't plan to marry Jack anymore. Unaware of my thoughts, Jack looked at me tenderly. So, Lucy, when will you give me a chance? He chuckled softly. You should at least tell me when is a good time to propose. I didn't know how to answer that, so I changed the topic. Aren't you looking for a secretary these days? He raised an eyebrow. Why? Getting jealous? I shook my head, staying silent. Last life, after meeting Lisa, Jack couldn't get her out of his mind. She later became his secretary, and being together every day, Jack abandoned our years-long relationship for her after just 6 months. I've always known I was going to marry Jack. This year marks 17 years of that knowledge. For 17 years, I never imagined anyone could come between us. We were childhood sweethearts, after all. How could a short 6 months compare to all those years? Jack's parents were just as welcoming as ever. No different, because I wasn't born to the William family. His dad even told me, "Lucy, we watched you grow up. We want you as our daughter-in-law. I've heard about what happened to you. She's got a tough life, but she's strong. We know Jack, his head over heels for you. We aren't old-fashioned. Get married soon and give us a grandson to spoil." I forced a smile, unsure of how to make Uncle satisfied. Jack was looking at me eagerly too. It feels like everything in this life has been going in the direction I wanted. Lisa's appearance didn't seem to change that for anyone. This is the life I'd always wanted but never got in my past life. And now that I have it easily, I suddenly realize I don't want it. It's like a kid wanting candy so badly, but once they get it, they realize they are too old for it. I sat in the passenger seat of Jack's car, listening to the wind whistling outside. Jack remained gentle. He said, "If you don't like me having a female secretary, I can hire a male assistant." His eyes were full of affection. "I don't want to make you jealous." I looked at him, saying nothing. He pulled the car over, looked at me and said, "Lucy, you've seemed a bit off these days." His gaze held an indescribable emotion. "What's going on?" I was silent, then finally said, "I've been feeling a bit unwell lately." He nodded, then started the car again. "You can talk to me about anything. Otherwise, I can't guess what's on your mind." I looked at his familiar profile, and the memories from my past life began to blur. I thought to myself, let's wait a little longer. For the sake of Uncle and Aunt, I should wait a bit longer. Jack was as kind as ever, never giving me a chance to say anything harsh. I looked into his earnest eyes and wondered if I could judge him now based on what he might do in the future. I couldn't answer that, and neither could Luna. This went on until that day. I accidentally overheard a conversation between Jack and Lisa. That day, my parents had made some chicken soup and asked me to bring some to Jack. They probably sensed that I wasn't as keen on marrying Jack anymore, and kept finding excuses for us to spend time together, subtly encouraging us to communicate more. Our families had always planned for us to marry, and now my sudden change was alarming to them. The elevator was crowded, so I took the stairs instead. As I neared Jack's office, I heard a voice full of anger echoing in the stairwell. It was a voice I knew all too well, Jack's. Jack was truly angry. I hadn't seen him that way often. He said, "Can you stop coming to me? Aren't you annoyed? I've already told you I'm about to get married." Lisa sounded a bit hurt, speaking softly. "I didn't come to see you. I just accidentally ended up at your comp." Jack let out a cold, mocking laugh. "Accidentally? You accidentally watched the same movie as me, went to the same restaurant, and now you've accidentally gotten hired as our secretary." "Lisa, don't think I don't know what you're planning. I'm telling you, I won't believe you again." Lisa's voice was tinged with confusion. "What do you mean, believe me again? Did you ever believe me before?" Jack scoffed and slammed the stairwell door shut, saying nothing more. I stood in the stairwell, suddenly understanding what Jack meant by again. He had also been reborn. I stumbled home and told Luna the news. Luna was equally shocked. "Sis, if that's the case, could he be trying to bring down our family?" I shook my head. It wasn't holding on to any hope for Jack, just that the possibility was too slim. The Smith family is huge, but our family isn't insignificant either. We have many joint projects. If he intended to ruin us, even in our past life, it would have been a lose-lose scenario. Luna, being deeply immersed in her own field, didn't really understand the intricate business ties between our families. I chuckled coldly. "He regrets it. But what good is regret? No matter how well he acts, he's not the same Jack from our youth." I admit I retained a little pity and affection for the young Jack, but I felt nothing but deep-seated hatred for this remorseful, reborn Jack. On Sundays, Jack and I had the habit of going out for meals and taking walks. When Jack saw me coming downstairs, he promptly got out of the car to open the door for me. I smiled and opened the glove compartment, then turned to Jack and asked, "Where are the tampons?" After that one time when my period unexpectedly started during a picnic with Jack, he always had tampons in the car, but there weren't any in this car. Old Jack didn't like driving these kinds of cars, but the Jack after rebirth did. Now that I think about it, there were always signs that he had been reborn, even if he was pretending. Certain habits revealed his true self. Jack's voice was still gentle. The tampons had been there too long. I was worried they'd go bad, so I cleared them out yesterday. I'll replace them next time. His demeanor was so natural. If I hadn't been reborn myself, I might have believed his excuse. I didn't rush to expose him. Instead, I said softly, okay, now wasn't the right time for a showdown. I needed to wait, to give him hope, only to crush it, to make him regret everything. We planned to have dinner at a Thai restaurant. Despite being scolded by my parents numerous times, I still didn't like going to those quiet, fancy places. I prefer small, lively, bustling restaurants. Jack knew I wouldn't have anyone to join me there, so he often accompanied me. Back then, his eyes were full of love. I'm sure it was love. But later, my lover was taken from me and was never found again. Even though the person in front of me looks exactly like him, he's no longer my Jack. What are you daydreaming about? Jack waved a hand in front of my face. I snapped back to reality and laughed. Oh, nothing. Just thinking about how lively it is here. Jack poured me a glass of water from the cup on the dining table. Drink some water to fill up a bit. The food's spicy. You might end up with a stomachache later. I reached for the water and noticed Lisa heading towards our table. I kept my cool, curious about how they'd react to seeing each other. When Jack saw her, his eyes darkened briefly before he put on a neutral face. Lisa flashed a smile. Cousin, I didn't know you were eating here too. Mind if I join? Jack frowned. I jumped in first. Not at all. Since you're Jack's cousin, you're like family to me too. We should get to know each other. A glimmer of surprise crossed Jack's eyes, and he grinned. Lucy, does that mean you'll marry me? I smiled silently. Lisa clearly didn't like our little exchange. She pointed at the menu and said, Sister-in-law, see what you want to eat. Don't order shrimp. My cousin can't handle it. Jack looked mildly annoyed. Why don't you go back? It's hard to have a meal with you around. Lisa gave me a pitiful look. I played dumb and said with a laugh, it's no big deal if you join us. Jack kept frowning, but Lisa cheered, you're the best, sis. I didn't say much after that, though Lisa kept chatting with me. Later, when Jack was dropping me off, he hesitated. Actually, that woman isn't my cousin. She's someone from my office. He quickly clarified, there's nothing going on between us, really. She's just persistent. Don't worry if she says anything crazy to you. I secretly laughed inside, but maintained a puzzled look. Why is she so attached to you then? A flash of panic crossed his face. I don't know. Yeah, right. Still trying to fool me. I kept my anger in check and smiled in agreement. Jack sighed in relief. Let's plan a wedding in Bali soon. I've always been into Bali. Ever since I accepted Jack's proposal in a past life, I kept asking about a Bali wedding. He did have a wedding there, but not with me. I felt so bitter inside, amazed he remembered. When I got home, Luna rushed over. She'd heard Jack was at my place discussing wedding plans with my parents. Sis, you really gonna marry him? You don't recall how he treated you before? I shook my head. Oh, I remember. I didn't reveal their games right away, because I remember. I moved fast to set a wedding date with Jack, because Lisa couldn't hold back anymore. A few days ago, I got a text from an unknown number. It said Jack was cheating on me and even included a bedroom pic. It wasn't hard to guess who sent it. Luna was livid. What? Jack still with Lisa? Looking at Jack downstairs talking wedding plans with my folks, I felt sick. A leopard doesn't change its spots, huh? Luna, just watch. I'll make him pay. Luna nodded. Sis, if you need help dealing with them, I'm here for you. I fixed a strand of her hair behind her ear. No need, sis. I got this. You don't want to be involved, especially since you're kinda in the public eye. Jack seemed to notice me watching and smiled. I smiled back. Inside, though, I was plotting his downfall. Word spread about our wedding plans, and Lisa caved. She came straight to my office, wanting to talk. I agreed. I'd love to dig up some dirt on Jack. Since I got a second chance at life, I've been looking into company issues. Our collapse in the past wasn't just Jack's doing. Problems already existed in the business. I haven't pinpointed the issue yet. With it lurking, I can't confront Jack completely. Lisa sat across from me, not looking guilty at all. Did you know, Jack stopped loving you ages ago? I snickered internally, staying silent. Didn't want to be caught on tape. No response from me made Lisa keep talking. Saw the message, right? You still can't believe Jack cheated after seeing that pic, I smiled. A single pic proves nothing. Seeing is believing. Jack's already told me about you too. Stop trying to stir things up. Lisa seemed to underestimate me, mumbling, such a fool in love. Deserves to lose everything for ignoring clear signs. Her words hit me, though I didn't show it. I looked at her. What are you implying? Lisa sneered, mocking. Nothing, just pity. Her eyes were full of malice, almost pitying. I was still processing when suddenly she was yanked up by an angry voice. What are you doing here? Jack glared at me, getting madder. What lies did you tell her? Lisa acted innocent. Nothing, we just had lunch. I showed Jack the text from Lisa. Jack, I trust you, but you need to deal with this. I don't want to see her again. Lisa looked shocked, not expecting me to show Jack. If it were my old self, I might have kept the photos hidden, investigating alone. But now, I didn't expect anything from Jack. Why bother with all that effort? Jack looked at the photo, frowning, and turned to Lisa. Got it, Lucy. Thanks for trusting me. I laughed and said, you're my fiancé. If I don't believe you, who else would I believe? A stranger, with that. I winked at Lisa and walked away, leaving her with a look of disbelief. She probably thinks I'm a fool, trusting my fiancé even with evidence handed to me. I know Lisa won't stop here. She's always been cunning and never thought Jack and I could end up together. She used to brag to me, I'm his true love. Who are you? Just a secondary character, a pawn for our romance. She was so sure of herself, convinced she and Jack were destined to be together. She often told me, I'm the main character, and you're just the villain. I never understood. She's the lead in her life, and I'm the lead in mine. She took over my family's business, called me evil, and took all the advantages, yet blamed me for ruining her and Jack. Oddly, she never felt guilty. She acted like she deserved everything. In the past life, she condescendingly told me, you're just a fake daughter. Even if you have an engagement with Jack, it's a scam. She said, it's all meant to be. Accept your fate. I don't believe in fate. If there were justice, she'd be the first to get it. Why should I give up if she's still living well? Sure enough, that unknown number texted again. Don't believe Jack's cheating. Tomorrow night, at Showdown Hotel 2221. Come and see your so-called perfect man for real. I replied, I don't have time for your games. Go prank someone else. The person on the other side got anxious. How can I get you to see Jack's a cheater? I knew Jack was a cheater, but I'm not telling them that. I texted back, he's my fiancé. If I can't trust him, who can I trust? Plus, we have many business ties. We're close, so why would he cheat? The person replied sarcastically, business ties. Your family's business is nearly empty. Do you know how cautious your fiancé is about you? I smirked and replied, impossible. Jack and I have known each other for years. I know him. No more messages came. I wasn't worried. I had a feeling they'd take the bait soon. The next day, Jack made an excuse not to pick me up from work. I didn't go to the hotel. Instead, I called the police, reporting illegal activity at Showdown Hotel 2221. I wanted to see Jack, and Lisa escorted out in handcuffs, just hoping Lisa wouldn't let me down. But things rarely go as planned. There was no news from Jack's parents. If he had been caught, they'd certainly call off the engagement. I sighed, wondering where things went wrong. The next day, Lisa texted again. I ditched Jack last night and got something from his office. Want to see? Surprised at the unexpected twist, I quickly replied, what did you get? Lisa played coy. Guess what your fiancé did behind your back? I replied, stop wasting time and tell me. Lisa suggested, meet up, I'll show you. It'll save your family business. Just leave Jack. Deal. I didn't answer. Just asked for a location and went quickly. Lisa was already there, smiling when she saw me. I thought you and Jack were so in love. Changed your mind, ignoring her. I calmed myself and coldly replied, Jack warned me about you. Lisa's tone turned harsh. Lucy, don't think Jack loves you. If it weren't for the system's glitch, you'd never get to act superior to me. Do you know who you are? I snorted. I'm not here to argue. If that's all, I'm leaving. Lisa quickly stopped me, angrily tossing a USB at me. Take it. As head of your company, you'll know what's on it. Think about if Jack's worth your trust. With a smirk, I took the USB, You've gone to great lengths to split Jack and me. Lisa snapped back. I'm not splitting you up. Jack and I are meant to be. You think he loves you. I'm the one for him. Even now, some of Lisa's words annoy me to no end. I stood up, looking down at her. No matter what you say, you did come between Jack and me. I paused and smiled slightly, but honestly, you two do seem well suited. I wasn't just telling Lisa. I was also speaking to Jack, who stood behind her. His face turned grey, speechless. Lisa jumped up to explain, only for Jack to cut her off. He looked at me and asked, "You knew all along, didn't you?" I touched the USB in my pocket and smiled, yeah. I walked over to Jack, leaned in, and whispered in his ear, "So don't mess with me. I'm really afraid I might not be able to hold back from killing you someday." Jack grabbed my arm, his eyes red, "But I'm serious about you. Believe me, Lucy." I smiled, waving the USB drive in my hand. "You say you're serious, but you know what's on this USB, don't you? It was my family's company secrets." Jack's pupils shrank, and he stammered, "It's our life, Lucy. Believe me, I love you." I kept a stern face. "Jack, it's best if I don't see you again. For your parents' sake, maybe I'll let you off." Before leaving, I threw out one last line, "Jack, you might accept fate, but I can't. If I accept it, someone will come for my parents' and sisters' lives. My life isn't going to end like this." Since that day, Jack wasn't willing to give up. Instead, he stood outside my building every day holding a bouquet of roses. Back in college, whenever I was upset, Jack would wait outside my dorm with roses. The moment I'd open my window, he'd give me such a silly smile. Seeing him like that used to make all my anger disappear. But now, seeing him standing there with roses just made me sick. The happier it was then, the more ironic it is now. After finding out about Jack's affair, my parents were heartbroken for me. They even ignored calls from his parents and immediately started setting me up on dates. Jack stood there alone outside our door for a week. My family pretended not to see him, just letting him stand there in the sun and rain. Lisa came once. She wore a white dress that made her look pure and pitiful, trying to gently pull Jack away. But then Jack suddenly shoved her into the grass, staining her dress. Luna and I watched from the window as the two of them tangled. Luna spat out, "What a dog that can't change its ways." I thought he'd stay away from her this time, but I guess they are tangled again. I chuckled, maybe it's fate. What Lisa once said to me kept ringing in my ears like a curse. She talked about fate, destiny. If her destiny was to be entangled with Jack, and Jack's was to leave me for her, then what about me and Luna? Would Luna die saving me, leaving me to end my own life in despair? Can we really escape the grip of fate? Even with all my confidence, the small thread of worry crept in. Jack disappeared after waiting a week. Luna mocked that his love was only worth a week, but I felt relieved. At least now my life was back on track. I hadn't gone out of my way to retaliate. Aside from making some trouble for the Smith family in business, with Jack's parents in the picture, I couldn't really do much damage. I had leverage on Jack, and he couldn't really touch me either. I had thought about going all out for revenge against Jack, but every time I'd see my parents' smiles, I'd rethink it. The urge would rise and fall, over and over, until I finally decided to let it go. Many things in this life are too beautiful to risk ruining. I feared making a misstep could throw me back into a never-ending nightmare from a past life. But what I dreaded most eventually happened. After work, just as I was about to open the car door to head home, a cold blade pressed against my neck. A man's unfamiliar voice whispered chillingly, "Don't make a sound, don't try anything funny, or I'll start poking you with this knife." My mind went blank for a moment, then quickly caught on. "Did Lisa send you?" The man didn't answer. He efficiently tied up my hands and feet, covered my eyes and mouth, and tossed me into the back seat, before sliding into the driver's seat. I overheard him calling Lisa to report in. The darkness heightened my hearing. Even without speakerphone, I pieced together enough to figure out the situation. Jack and my parents must have realized by now that I've been kidnapped. They are probably scrambling for money. I didn't think Lisa would spare me. She took me to lure Luna out. She wanted us both dead to complete this so-called destiny. Sure enough, at an old, abandoned factory, I saw Lisa. She ripped the cloth off my eyes and mouth, grinning at me. "Lucy, I told you. This is your fate. You have to accept it. Only by you and Luna dying will this world return to its intended path." Her words always confused me. Whether I live or die, it's still the same planet, right? What change does that make? I asked her. I still don't get it. What's this fate you're talking about? Jack cheated, so I dumped him. You two can be together, I don't care. How does this affect the world? Nothing changes if I'm gone. Lisa laughed. You lived 2 lives and didn't figure it out. You're the evil secondary character in a book. You're not even real. Just a creation by someone from another world. I was speechless, utterly shocked by the revelation. She continued with satisfaction. Both this life and the Lisa from your past life are from the same world. But something went wrong in your world this time. The male and female leads, along with key characters, got reborn with memories. I'm here to reset this world's logic. Once you die, your memories get wiped. You should be grateful you even get to know the truth. Most main characters in other worlds don't get a hint of who they really are. Stunned, I asked, is this the fate you're talking about? Lisa nodded. Yeah, this is your destiny. It's the fate you've repeated countless times. After saying that, Lisa turned and left, leaving me alone in the warehouse, stunned. I couldn't wrap my head around it. The world I live in isn't real, but all that's happened to me has forced me to believe it. I sat there, zoned out, not wanting to give in to what Lisa said about fate. Then, I heard Luna's voice outside the warehouse. She came all the way out here alone for me, to this remote place. Luna's time in the orphanage made her a bit socially anxious. She's usually scared of strangers, but would go to such lengths for me. This stubborn girl. I vaguely heard Lisa and Luna arguing. Luna was saying, "Where did you hide my sister?" Lisa giggled and said, "Genius, you're more like a fool. She's just a fake daughter, who's been in your place for years. You don't hate her, you're actually friends with her." Luna ignored her and asked, "Is she in this house?" Lisa stopped smiling and said coldly, "I know you're tough, but if you dare to act rashly, I'll end her life. Now, raise your hands. I'm going to tie you up. Since you care so much about her, why not stay with her?" Then Luna got tied up and thrown in with me. Lisa mocked us, "You sisters, ready to live or die together." When Luna saw me, her eyes lit up. "Sis, I found you." She leaned close and whispered, "Sis, I have a locator on me. It won't be long before Mom and Dad get here." Lisa snorted and walked out. I sighed, not too surprised by Luna's arrival. If you thought of this, Lisa probably did too. I sighed. I bet we're about to die again soon. Luna, if we're not real people, but just characters created by someone else in another world, and if Jack cheats, and we're destined to die miserably, what should we do? Luna wasn't discouraged. She looked at me confused. "Sis, did Lisa say this to you?" "She's always like that, crazy. Think about Mom, Dad, and all our years. How could we be fake? Even if we are, can't we just try to live well?" I was stunned. Yeah, my parents, my sister, my friends, my life, they are real. I'm a real person. I control my destiny. If I've been given a second chance, I won't accept fate and let my family die again. Luna, let's escape together. I looked at a few scattered porcelain bowls and got an idea. Luna could still move. If we break the bowls and cut the ropes, we can get out. Once I grabbed a piece of porcelain, I took a deep breath. But then I smelled a heavy scent of gasoline. She plans to burn us. Luna realized Lisa's intention. We exchanged a glance. We had to move fast. Back to back, we used broken porcelain shards to cut the ropes. Even as my hands got cut and bled, we didn't give up. Finally, we got free. Quietly, we made our way to the warehouse door, but couldn't push it open. Luna glanced at me, frustrated. She really wants to burn us alive. Just then, we heard Lisa and Jack arguing outside. "You're crazy. You want to burn them alive." "Me? Crazy? Jack? I'm just trying to bring this world back to where it belongs. They have to die." Lisa's voice was shrill and frantic. As we tried to think of a way, the door burst open with a bang. Jack grabbed my arm and pulled me out. "Lucy, come with me. Ignore this lunatic." Lisa, now furious, pointed a gun she got from who knows where, saying, "One more step, and I'll shoot them dead, both of them." Jack stood in front of me, and I instinctively shielded Luna behind me. Lisa grew angrier. "Jack, how many times do I have to tell you? Whether I hurt her or not, she'll die. It's her fate." Jack shot back. "If that's her fate, then mine is to protect her." My heart tingled a bit. At this point, does Jack really need to pretend to be all heroic? But memories of his betrayal and hurt rushed back. and I still couldn't feel moved or love for Jack. I suddenly couldn't figure this guy out. Lisa was in disbelief. I told you your fate is to be with me. Jack frowned, eyes downcast. Stop, Lisa, while you still can. Lisa wanted to argue, but Jack didn't give her the chance. He rushed forward and grabbed the gun from her. Amid the struggle, Lisa was startled and shot several times. Behind us, the warehouse went up in flames with a whoosh. Gasoline drenched the place, and the fire spread quickly, turning the warehouse into an inferno. As I snapped out of it, I grabbed Luna and made a dash for it. Lisa screamed, "Jack, you're shot." I turned back instinctively. Jack stood in the flames, looking at me. His hand pressed against his abdomen, blood soaking his clothes. His mouth opened slightly like he wanted to say something. Though we were far apart, I still heard him say, "Run, just run." Lisa's figure became more blurred, as did her disbelieving voice. Mission failed. World disrupted. How's that possible? Their figures were consumed by flames. Amid the blazing fire, I seemed to hear the sound of chains breaking. Next came the sirens of the fire trucks and ambulances. As I got lifted onto the stretcher and into the ambulance, I looked up at the blue sky absent-mindedly and said to Luna, "Tomorrow will be better, right?" A month later, Uncle and Aunt brought me a letter from Jack. He wrote, "Lucy, I'm sorry. The truth is, I've known for a long time this world is different. I'm not Jack. My real name is Logan, and I'm an officer from another world. I came here because people in this world have awakened their consciousness, causing the world to collapse. My duty is to get this world back on track and have people follow their destinies. But then I met you. After spending time with you, I got helplessly in love with you. I wanted to change your fate. You are so wonderful. You shouldn't be some expendable evil supporting character. But I failed, again and again. Watching you meet your death countless times broke my heart. I couldn't change your fate. Yet this time feels different. Noticing me with another woman, you don't truly get jealous or sad, only pretending to. Seeing your change left me unsure whether to be sad or happy. I realized this could end differently this time. Maybe, if the mission fails and I get erased with Lisa by the system, that might alter your fate. This time, I want to be brave for you. If you survive, promise me you'll live a brilliant life, become a girl who shines bright. Love always, Jack. After reading the letter, my tears blurred my vision. I couldn't quite put into words what I felt inside, just a dull ache. I don't know if this world is really some fictional creation, as Jack and Lisa claim. All I know is the boy who waited downstairs with roses and that silly smile is real. The parents who pamper and never want me hurt are real. The sister who called me sis and would sacrifice herself to save me is also real. Sis, what are you daydreaming about? Luna jumped out from behind me, wrapping her arm around my shoulder. I put down the letter and gave her a knowing smile. Just thinking of how to celebrate you scoring another big patent. Luna is a chemistry genius. The fire didn't slow down her award-winning pace. I grabbed her hand, smiling as we walked out of the room, letting the letter get scattered by the breeze. I softly whispered inside, "Jack, I'll live well and shine bright in this life.